Hey buddy, how's it going?
Yeah, fucking fantastic, brother. How are you?
Good. So
Uh,
we had such a good episode last time. Unfortunately, the sound was absolutely shit, so I wasn't able to make any clips from it. But we are going to continue doing these kind of podcasts. So you said you had a bunch of people that were super happy about it.
yeah, dude. Surprisingly, not gonna lie.
Surprisingly, okay, hang on here. Oh, it's going to be a bitch like this. Okay, I got to do. Fuck. Whatever. I gotta do. Okay, this is how I gotta do it. If I use my browser over Discord, it closes your camera. So I'm hoping that this is going to appease the gods here. But I had a bunch of stories that I went through. I tried to figure out, what are ways to make Joe talk because, like I said during this game, this is going to be more of a gaming and kind of all around podcast.
Hmm.
But with you, I'll focus more specifically on games because I don't, other than Carrie, I don't know anybody who is more seasoned at video games, consoles, and the history than yourself. You are the person that got me into video games. So today, I went through a bunch of shit, but I think what I would like to do, Joe, is talk
Hmm.
about overrated and underrated gaming franchises, and we're gonna break shit down
Okay.
by, or even games, but we're going to break shit down by consoles. So today we're going to talk Nintendo.
Okay.
So I know that's one because, again, we grew up with Duck Hunt, Mario Kart. Like, Mario Kart is really the only game that I can actually say that I have been successful on. Like, that brought the huge community together. Me and Carrie were doing very well at it, but it's one of those. And then we're going to go after, we're going to
Mhm.
start talking because we kind of touched on Nintendo as a company and what they do. Um,
Right.
so we'll go into that. But first, let's talk
I
Nintendo, dude. Oh, go ahead.
I would just like to add these are all my opinions. I'm not an expertise. I don't delve deep, but from what I see, it's just my opinion. And it might be wrong. I might get some facts wrong, but
And
yeah,
that's fine.
I just
Like I
wanted to
said,
just
we
wanted to
this
throw that
is
out there.
this is this is just us shooting this shit. Like I said, I'm gonna put it out there.
Yeah, for
No
sure, for
matter what,
sure.
Joe. When you walk out the door, there's someone there ready to troll. So we, one way or
Yeah.
another, we are gonna go through it. But it's easier to do it this way. Last week when we did it live, it was just we're constantly pulling away. Not that I don't mind talking to chat, but sometimes it's just harder to record, especially with all of the resources being taken by Twitch to rebroadcast a stream that I'm already broadcasting so that I can record it. Uh, but it was a great talk. So hopefully today is going to go better. So right
Hmm.
now, when we talk Nintendo, right, let's talk about Nintendo's
Right.
flagship. We all know it, Mario,
Of course.
right?
Of course it's Mario. Yeah, of course it's Mario.
Talk
Like
to me about
again,
Mario. I know
he
you've been playing it from the first to the last. So talk to me about Mario, Joe.
okay, so like obviously everyone at one point, I'm probably gonna be all over the place, but at one
That's fine.
point, Mario, I believe it was like Mario was more well known around the world than fucking Mickey Mouse. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm like 99.9% right on this, but like at one point when you ask kids and you showed them like a picture by picture, they would point out Mario first and quicker than fucking Mickey Mouse, dude. Like that's how crazy um this simple, honestly very simple mechanic of a game was. Just for the simple fact that like most games now, if you think about it, most games probably from the 70s uh, onwards up until more, some games did it before, but like they were like single screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you remember, like the Pac-Mans, the asteroids, the
The
I want to
2D
say
everything.
Galaga, but I
So
could be wrong.
for the listeners here, let me just kind of paint you a picture. We if you grew up playing Tetris, the kind of idea you could see everything on one screen. That was your
Hmm.
game platform, and then we moved into the moving backgrounds, blah blah blah. But I will let Joe continue. Go ahead,
Oh
buddy.
yeah. So like, but like again, you had games on Atari. You would switch screens, but it wasn't scrolling, right? That I think that's the term,
Yeah.
scrolling. Right? So Mario came out, and it was just all it was is jump and run. You know what I mean? Like that's
When
the only
life was
game
simpler.
that just run and jump. But it was difficult enough to make an impact, and it came out around the time that the market crash, the not market crash, the video game crash, um, was around. Because yeah, like I don't like again. I'm sorry, we're probably gonna go off topic, but we'll circle back. It was like there was so many games flooding the market. Anybody can make a game. There was no regulation. There was no nothing. Like third parties, aftermarkets making games on Atari, just flooding it with shit games, right? 90% of them were shit. ET, all those other, like, they were just shit. It was just one person programming the game and selling it. It works with Atari. You can plug it in. Here you go, right? So the video game market fucking was crashing, and it did crash. And then Nintendo came out with the NES, the Famicom in Japan, but NES here. Um, so anyway, sorry, little history. But that's why Mario was so huge, right? Like it was a good game. People finally had a good fucking game to play, and it was Mario, right? The Pac-Mans and shit were good, but again, they were flooded. So um so the reason why again so fucking popular is because of that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying, right? Right. So the impact that Moria had around the world was fucking crazy. Like shirts, t-shirts, uh, cartoons, live action shit. Like it just took over, bigger than Disney at one point, right? Um, so his games,
I think some would argue that it may still be bigger than Disney.
dude. Yeah, I mean, again, of course, Disney is Disney. We
Yeah.
could talk about that another day.
It's a
But
whole
like
other episode.
Disney is just saturated and no one gives a shit anymore. But with like Nintendo and Mario, like they came out with Mario, and it was just a simple plumber. Now the story like deviated throughout the years, right? Like it was when he initially came out, he was just a character. He wasn't meant to be anything, right? It was just his name was Jumpman, and he started off in Donkey Kong. Before Mario, he was in Donkey Kong, and he was just Jumpman. And you could all delve into the history on that because the word is they rented out a warehouse in Seattle, I want to say, or Washington or Seattle, somewhere in there. They rented out a warehouse, and the landlord was named Mario, and he looked like the character today. And because they were late on their payments and shit, and he was like a good guy, that was like their reference to him is Jumpman. You can look it up, tell me if I'm
Oh,
right, but that's the story.
I know the story. I was just looking it up so that we had something to fall back on here. But Joe is right, and believe me, there's a reason why I wanted to do this with you is because you are as far as I'm concerned, the only other person I could talk to is Carrie about this kind of stuff. But and like I said, I'm an enthusiast. I'll play the odd game. My franchise was Zelda and Witcher. I was more into those
Mm-hmm.
than this.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something that Super Mario is just so generational. And I think that is one thing that Nintendo had over a lot of consoles. Like PlayStation, we had, right? But PlayStation, we played sports on
I mean,
PlayStation. Remember when we were so picky, or well, at least I got to hang off and mooch off you guys. But that we only played sports on PlayStation. We only played
oh yeah,
this, and that's it. And that fueled what I feel as a console war. That will come in later episodes. But just to touch back on Joe's point there. So the initial creation was in 1981, and it was created Jumpman for Donkey Kong. So I actually do have a cousin in Toronto who probably still has the original because I used to bug her, but that's it. Like it, and I was born 85. You were born what, 86? Yeah.
86. Yeah, yeah,
And and
yeah.
those were already the pinnacle of gaming at the
I
time.
believe the Nintendo came to America in '85. Like it wasn't like It wasn't long after we were born that it like came out. I believe it was 85, maybe 83, but I want to say 85. It's very iffy when you look back, the farther you look back on video games and consoles on the release date because it was just released. Like there wasn't these big epic release days like there are now. So it was just like I don't know. I went to the store and I saw it one day. I don't know when it was released, right? So, but I believe it was like 85 and it was only in like New York and one other state. Like it wasn't worldwide yet.
All
They
right,
did a
so
test market on selling it.
I'll give you a brief overview of what I've been able to find on the net. So the
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo Entertainment System, originally as the family computer in Japan in 1983, was a huge success. After the North American video game crash of 1983, Nintendo redesigned the console to look more like a high-tech toy and market it as an entertainment system rather than a video game console to avoid the stigma. So the console was released in North America in 1985 and is credited with reviving the video game market. So, just to give you kind of a brief background into the 80s, because by the time we were playing with shit, right? Duck Hunt. I lived in a day and age like, and my parents. There's still a Coleco at my parents, and you remember because you've
Oh,
seen it.
dude, that Smurf game. Okay, yeah, sorry, the Coleco. Yeah, that's
Yeah, you know,
fucking great.
but that Atari, all kinds of shit, and
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about it, but but it's hard to say, and you can argue for days like who's got the better games and this and that, but one thing that is never ever going to be shadowed is Nintendo's control of the gamer market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's
They,
move back into Mario now. So
yeah,
talk to me
sorry.
about
Yeah,
Mario from the first, the first gen, second gen. I know you've played them all. I remember when we got
mm-hmm.
so excited to play it on N64. Sleepovers were planned, mountains were moved to make sure that we could play this game. We took turns sleeping and playing. Like shit was real back in the day. I wouldn't do that now. Well, I don't think I could if I wanted to, but that's it. But Joe, talk to me about your story with Nintendo.
um, yeah, I mean, like, I don't remember when we got it, obviously, but I remember playing it, and Mario specifically was. I think what caught you was right away. It has like I believe it has a menu screen, if I recall. But then you hit start, it drops you into the world. The music is iconic again. Like like above anything else, you could say like, oh, you go back, the graphics are like whatever. Yeah, they're pixelated. We get it, whatever. But the music is so fucking iconic. I just probably have to play like two or three keys of that, and you'll start humming it,
If
right?
I,
So
well, I
sorry,
was
go
gonna
on.
say, and the one thing that I do have, or I had for a long time, was the Mario coin notification for a text. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It supersedes anything. That is one sound that you will never. But even dun 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 dun, right? It doesn't
Dun,
matter.
dun, dun, right? Exactly, dude. And the second one, probably everyone remembers, is when you die because that Goomba in the first stage, the first one you meet, has probably killed more people in the world than like anything combined. Because I don't know about anybody else, but it didn't teach you the controls or anything. So you're just, walking forward. This Goomba comes and it's dun 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 dun, and then you start again. That's probably in everyone's head too because you've heard that over and over again. Because for such a simplistic game, you died numerous times. And the only reason why you died, and again, the reason why I think this game is pretty iconic, is it's a platformer, but it's also in a sense maybe like a little puzzly, a little timing. Because when you get the timing right, the speedrunners, you're just jumping at the right time, aka jump man. You're just jumping at the right time. You don't have to kill any enemies. You can get through the stage super fast. But I think it's iconic because of the figuring that out yourself. Because we didn't have internet back then. We didn't. It was just schoolyard talk. But at the end of the day, you played that game over and over again to the point you were memorized. It was a puzzle, it was a strategy, and it was a platformer, and you just tried to get through the level as quick as possible. I think that's why the first one is super iconic. Music great, the controls are tight, but it's a puzzle game. At the end of the day, for me, again, I don't know what you think. I don't know what your experience is playing with it, but to me, it's a puzzle game.
Well, and for me, and that's it. And we've talked about it. Like I said, I'm not a huge gamer. I don't play in the same arena as you guys, but for me, just as a social gamer, um, Mario 1 and 3 were probably the two biggest video games, other than Final Fantasy 3. I think we used to play at your grandpa's.
Oh God, dude, that's another iconic game.
We'll get to Final Fantasy, on the next episode. But for Nintendo, like that's the thing. Like everything kind of started there. Like when you think of the original Jumpman, because that's what it is, and we're gonna get to the next. It'll bring us into our next franchise after. But
Mm-hmm.
Donkey Kong, no matter what it is, Donkey Kong will always be associated with Super Mario. But
Mm-hmm.
it's always going to be Super Mario that reigns supreme. You know what I mean? Like that Donkey Kong is still Donkey Kong. The old Donkey Kong games were money, and like you said, Joe, with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the speed runner and the platformers, it was pattern recognition, and that's why I struggle with a lot of games today's because that's how I was brought up. So
Mm-hmm.
when you look at actually, this just reminds you of the movie Pixel, right? Because that's it. They were all pattern based gamers, and now
Yep.
we're at a point where our autism does not work well, and when I have an open world I want to break down and cry, but
Yep.
I've
Yeah, it's all about reflexes now more instead of pattern recognition.
and that's
Is
just
really
it.
what games are now.
But even and like you said, you could show probably 95% of the world a picture of Super Mario and they would know who it was,
Mm-hmm. And they would probably know the initial like theme song of it. They would probably
right?
know a little bit of the other characters, right? They would know a lot more history, I think, now about Mario than Mickey Mouse per se. I don't know. I don't know if you
I
think
I
the same
I I,
thing,
I
but
think so, but I think for the most part, adults grow out of Mickey Mouse. And I
mm-hmm,
think that's the thing. But there are a lot of adults that grow out of video games. Like I'm not discounting that. But I think our generation has seen it the best in that, it's kind of the rebirth. And this is one thing. Whenever I'm going through, Twitch, you're looking at streamers, you kind of vibe with your own age set, and
oh,
we
of
grew
course.
up, right? Because like I said, I'm not a huge gamer, but Nintendo shaped the world that we live in today. Like, and I'll talk about Switch in a little while. I can't remember what the last Mario game I played, but it was last year, and it was kind of for me. It was, but you have to like that style. And like I said, Mario was never my thing. But I remember you, Mario, everything you have played. Probably, and this is what I love about you,
All of
Joe,
them.
is you are like a foodie for video games and a foodie for food. But you just like to try and experiment. So, kind of run me through um, Nintendo generationally. What to you would have been the best generation of Mario? What are the worst generation of games? And just kind of
Mm-hmm.
along that. And if there was one console that if you deemed the perfect console or one that you would have never released, and I'll just let you have at it. Don't worry about your thought
Uh,
pattern. We can clean it up later.
got it. So going with that last question about console for Nintendo, I think, and this goes back to initially your first kind of like overrated, underrated. I think the GameCube is the best console that Nintendo ever made. I don't think the best Mario is on that console because I'm going to tell you right now, and people are probably going to come at me if we become like a thing and there's comments and shit. I think Mario Sunshine is one of the shittiest fucking Mario games of all time. Of all time. And that's
That's
saying
fine.
something because there's a lot of spin offs, there's a lot of whatever on Mario games. I think Sunshine is such a piece of shit game. And I've streamed it. I streamed it. I didn't finish it. I got near the end. I didn't finish it because I rage quit. I was just so done with it. I think, um, yeah, Sunshine is not the best game. but I think the GameCube is the best Nintendo console of all time. People might say the Switch. I don't think so. Honestly, the Switch is fine, but I have not touched my Switch in 3 years. 3 years. But every day I think about playing the GameCube. I think about the games that came out on the GameCube. I think the graphics. I think the controller is so comfy, um, and very simple. I think some of the best games of the franchise came out on the GameCube as well, but not Mario. Not Mario for sure. So that's the first one. Nintendo GameCube, best Nintendo console. A lot of people are going to say Super Nintendo, and I know that. And a lot of people are going to say the Switch, and I know that. The Super Nintendo, I again will say better than the Switch, but um, but for best Mario game, in my opinion, is Super Mario World. And I'll tell you a couple reasons why. First reason why. So people are going to say the 64. People are going to say Mario 64 was the best Mario of all time. It was the most revolutionary Mario of all time. Because it jumped from 2D to 3D. So, but go back and play 64 now on a 64 with the controller and tell me that maybe you didn't have the best time. Maybe those rose colored glasses showed effect with the 64. And I love the 64 as well because, again, 3D Nintendo, but when you go back at it, it did not age well at all. So people are going to say Mario 64 best Mario of all time. It didn't age at all. Even on the Switch, I have the Mario 3D All Stars on the Switch. It fucking sucks. The controls are horrible. The graphics aren't the best. It's glitchy as shit. Now again, speedrunners figure that shit out. I commend you. I respect your decision. But I think the best Mario, because when you go back to Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, it looks exactly how you remembered it. It plays exactly how you remember it. You remember all the secrets. The music is great. The colors are bright. The sprites are beautiful. Like everything about that game, like brings back the nostalgia, but not the rose-colored glasses, right? Even if you play that on like you play it on a 55-inch TV, it looks a little weird, but it still looks good and controls fantastic. So hands down, 100%, Super Mario World is the best Super Mario in my opinion.
Perfect.
So so yeah, I know you haven't played much, I know, but like
I just never got into it.
Sunshine's
Like if I don't even know which one's Sunshine. I've never even heard of it. And the worst part
it's
is
the
I'm
one where
pretty
you have
sure
a
I might have
water
act.
pack. Yeah, I know.
See, and this is the thing, because the last one I played was whatever we have on the Switch, and that was it. Like, and I can't remember. I think I got one Mario World 3D maybe, but anyways,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I consider that a little bit of a spin-off
okay.
compared to because you got the 2D Marios and the 3D Marios, right? So,
See, but my game is Mario Kart. Like that's above all Super Mario 3 and Mario Kart. I don't care which Mario Kart. I would rather play Mario Kart than a Super Mario. But that's just me. Like Super Mario
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
3 I think was it's etched in my brain because that's when we got the feather, right? Cuz 2 was
You got oh no, you got the
or the
leaf,
flute.
the
Oh
raccoon,
yeah, that's it. The raccoon tail.
and the
Yeah,
flute. Yes,
okay.
yeah.
And that's why, right?
Um.
Because it was something we hadn't seen. 1 and 2, because 2 was what, like the fire
Oh,
breathing Mario or whatever, the or
there, there's a whole history with two. Um, it's almost a reskin of a Japanese game called Doki Doki Panic.
okay.
Um, I don't remember the whole history, but so I kind of do now. So you
Of
had
course you
Mario
do.
1. Yeah, now it clicked in. You have Mario 1, okay? Then they did make a sequel. And they called it, I believe, Mario 2 in Japan. Here it came out as Mario Lost Levels. The first time you ever saw it was on Mario All Stars on the Super Nintendo. Um, but what happened was is they made the sequel to Nintendo or to Super Mario 2. They shipped it to America for their testers to play. And there was a specific tester that they always use. I can't remember his name. He said that it was too hard for the North American market. So then what they did is they reskinned this other game and they released it as Super Mario 2 in America. But Super Mario 2 in Japan is totally different. It's a different game in general. It's the whole Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, but here it was 3 and there it was 6. That's why we jumped from 3 to 7 in North America because that's a whole other, that's a, I can't remember what the term is, but they have testers here that play the games and they're like, yo, this is too hard. Hey, you need to change this. Yo, this doesn't make sense in North America. You got to change this whole environment, right? That's a whole other
Okay, so there's
video game
essentially a
department.
department of whitewashing for America.
Basically,
Yeah,
if you know what, in layman's terms, that's basically what it is,
I got you.
right? So yeah, Super Mario 2 here was like it looked really weird for the time, and that was one where you picked up the radishes and you like threw them
Yeah,
at people. You're right. You had the fire breathing birdos that shot the eggs and the fire and stuff like that. Yes, that was Mario 2, which is a fine game on its own. A little weird for its time, but also between Legend of Zelda and Legend of Zelda 2 on Nintendo, completely separate weird ass games. So, um, it was a thing back then. So anyway, sorry. The point was is Mario 3, you're talking about Mario 3. That like I struggle with that and Super Mario World being like the best of the Mario franchises because it's just so iconic too. Again, the music's iconic. Everyone remembers World 4, the gigantic world, right? That's everyone's probably favorite world in that game. So I'll agree with you, and I always struggle with which one I think is the best of the franchise. I'll always flip flop between 3 and Mario World, but in the end, I'd rather hook up my Super Nintendo than my Nintendo.
and
So,
and that's just it. Because I was going to say the same thing. The one that I remember most was going to your place playing Super Nintendo, right? And we played Super Mario World over and over and over and over and over. Like, and that was it. Super Mario 3, I think, was the precursor to it. You know, but I don't think Super Mario World would have never happened without the setup of Super Mario 3.
oh
Um,
hell no, dude,
and
hell
this
no.
is one thing, because when you remember, whenever we talk about anything, and this is me again, my pattern seeking ability, the one thing that we had that was pretty laid out growing up in, let's just call it the 80s and 90s generation of games, is we
Mm-hmm.
had that map, right? I'm going from level 1 to level 2. It was the snakes and arrows pattern. And that's why, because you could see the end,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
it.
And
Now,
you can see secrets. You're like, hey, that looks like there could be something there. There got to be something in this level that leads me to that secret,
and
right?
that's it. But then you've got, and just to completely take the other side of it, then you got games like, Elden Ring, where you are just fucked, because not only did you buy this game, you're not going to finish it. You are probably going to go see a therapist. And frankly, your entire world is going to change, because I'm pretty sure we used to have a buddy, he found Jesus, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not even
Oh,
kidding you when I
dude,
say
I'm not gonna say the name.
you know
Yeah.
exactly who I'm talking, which is great. I love you, buddy. That's fine. But but this is the thing, right? Is certain things push us. But back in the day, we grew up to the simple map. We had, as you call it, the scrolling or the panning background kind
Mm-hmm.
of move, and that was it. And then you were trying to find patterns. And when we moved away from the Super Nintendo, that's when we saw a little more open world, right, with Super Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
But that was iconic in its own, as a history thing. I can't remember
Yes.
any other Super Mario games for 64 that I gave a shit about. Again, Mario
Mm-hmm.
Kart is the only other Mario franchise that I cared. I don't think I've ever played Luigi's Haunted Mansions, anything like that. But
Yes.
a normal Mario
Yeah,
person would.
you should, but again, um,
My time's ticking, Joe. I don't know if this is one I can give priority to.
it's a very quick game if you can get through to it. It's a very good game. It's a very different game. But that is what, going back to, you mentioned something, but that is what Nintendo has always been good at. I believe Nintendo is still here, and Nintendo broke through the market, and stayed with the market because Nintendo believes that they are a toy entertainment company first and a video game company second.
Okay.
So, with that thought, they're not thinking of creating the best looking games. They're trying to create the best interactive experience, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. The
Right?
user experience is what keeps the lights on. So, and
Mm-hmm.
now we're catering to, Call of Duty generation and a lot of it. So, and where I was trying to go with this earlier, but it's coming back to me now, is Nintendo did a very good job of keeping kids interested and keeping kids spending money to this day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because now as an adult, and it's weird to say, I feel like Xbox is an adult system and Nintendo is not. You know what I mean? But
And that was the marketing of Xbox and PlayStation, right?
but
Uh, and 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 again, Sega, because it started with Sega
yeah,
being the teenage system, where the hardcore rad system. Nintendo's for babies. Why would you play fucking Nintendo?
right.
Are you a baby? Don't play Nintendo. Play Sega, right? And then from that point on, everyone's thought is Nintendo is for babies. Why would you play Nintendo? Get yourself a big boy system like PlayStation or Xbox, right? Um, which, man, if you think about it, it fucking worked, because to this day we feel ashamed for playing Nintendo.
I wouldn't say
We feel
ashamed. I don't have the want to. Like there's no game on there that really like the odd, well, like I said, Mario Kart, okay. If I
mm-hmm,
didn't need a Switch 2 to play the new one, then yeah, we'd be talking. And this is another thing we're going to talk about. But that's it. But I think we can sum it up in saying that the Mario flagship is not only
mm-hmm.
Nintendo's flagship, but easily the video game flagship. No, no, you're
100, no, I'm
oh,
sorry,
okay. You went
100%,
like
like,
that
you're
while you
fucking
were
right.
agreeing, so I didn't know what was going on there, which is fine. This is why we do this.
Yeah,
But
no,
I think
100%.
that, like you said, and you brought up that point earlier, that when you think Mario, you not only think Nintendo, but you think video games, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
that is, you know, it even had its own shitty movie in the 90s. Like it checked all the boxes, right? Like like, and we'll talk about Mortal Kombat's and that when we get into other systems. But
Oh,
now,
dude, like, again, like, they had the new Super Mario Brothers show,
yeah,
where it was a live action within the cartoon, right? They had the Super Mario Brother 3 show. They had animes out in Japan that we've never seen. They had comic books. They had, like, it was just fucking everywhere. And they marketed it like toys in the 80s.
but they still
G.I.
do it,
Joes.
and
Oh,
they
sorry. No, go on.
and they still do, and I think that's one thing that Nintendo does extremely well is because is someone, and I keep forgetting that you got your marketing as well, but is one thing whenever I think, and as someone who's grown up in sales, like you are a nicer person than me, 110%. But when I think about how I can get, like, when I work on shirts and whatever, right? It's how much is someone going to spend, how much, because I was always taught if you're not embarrassed about your price just a little bit, you need to put your prices higher. And that's just
Mm-hmm.
it. Like, so I do what I do because I could sell rinky dink, the whatever one liner, cheesy, same as everybody else shirts, but I don't because I can't compete with their prices and there's no point, there's no value for it for me. But with Nintendo, Nintendo's strategized in such a way that kids don't have money, but that kid has mommy, that kid has daddy, that kid has
Mm-hmm.
auntie, that kid has uncle, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
so many paths. As for us, I can't go to my mom with a straight face and be like, Mom, I need $60 for a video game at the age of 40.
Yeah. Right.
But a
Yeah, you're
kid,
right. You're right.
but if I'm 5 to, 10, 12,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because even if ours asks, I don't say no. I should, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 2 PCs. He's got, but that's the way,
Yep.
like, we always had that because that's what we fell back on, right? Because when it was a shitty day, it
But
didn't matter. We always had video games. We had Super Nintendo, we had whatever. And for the listeners and the viewers, Joe's collection of consoles is slowly becoming a history museum. Um, which is fine. There's no one that you would feel safer with. But at some point, one of you people are going to have to give this guy a job at a or at a collectibles store.
dude,
But
just wait until I start collecting like the 3DO, the Jaguar, like all those unique one-off systems.
well,
Then it'll be like a history museum.
and I can't wait till we do some indie talk because we are going to do a few indie episodes because that's just what I know more. Like I like Castlevania platformers. That's more my style. Like you said,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm a platformer speedrunner. But now, since we've spent a shit ton of time on Nintendo, let's kind of branch off. And the other one that we had talked about that kind of brought Super Nintendo into fruition. Let's talk Donkey Kong because Donkey Kong
Mm-hmm.
is another iconic. It's made a resurgence because was there a Donkey Kong game on Switch One?
No, there was not. Okay. Yes and no. It was a
But it wasn't
whatever
like a
term you
Donkey
want to
Kong
use.
Country, right? Like,
It was a remake or like a rehash or like something of a game that was on the Wii U.
okay,
Yeah,
so
because
not
the
a
Wii U didn't
true,
do well. No.
yeah, okay, so
I
not a
think it
true
was called
original.
Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze or Donkey Kong Returns, but it was a game from an older system
Okay,
that they just,
but
yeah.
growing up, Donkey Kong Country, that was the shit. Like that was,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, and I know you picked GameCube. I didn't spend enough time playing GameCube, but honestly, SNES had everything I wanted. To this date, it still has everything I want.
Yep,
Like I still play
yep.
JRPGs. I still like that. My mind never got out of that. Like
Yep.
when we were young, old people used to bitch about music. I like to bitch about video games now because honestly, I can't. I don't even know if I'm real. I might be a video game myself. But Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, all of them. Like I think, and again, I haven't played enough, but Super Nintendo did Donkey Kong justice. I think it had 3 or 4 games, which led into, again, Mario Kart, all that kind of shit that came
Mm-hmm.
just from that Mario franchise. But Donkey Kong is still one of those that I always hold, like Donkey Kong Country. I don't think I could ever not hate that game. Like,
Yeah, but no, as hard as it is, like as
because it made
frustrating
us
as it
work.
is, yeah. Again, it goes the music, fantastic. The graphics, really cool for it looked 3D, but it wasn't 3D. It like boggled your mind as a kid, right? And then tight gameplay and just enough challenge that like you would rage quit, but you would come back the next day and you would try it again. And then again and again and
I
again
think
until
that's
you beat
because
it.
games weren't as freely. If we had a bunch of free games like Xbox Game Pass back when we had
Mm-hmm.
SN, we probably would have told Donkey Kong to
To
hit the
fuck
bricks,
off.
and that's just it. And I think the fact that we had to because we couldn't afford to play another game, you had to do that one, and
You
that
had
was
to.
it.
And
Like we couldn't quit.
have you ever looked up what the price was of Donkey Kong Country when it first came out?
40, $50 back in the day, I'm guessing.
It was like $70 to $80, I believe.
I
Yeah,
remember.
games weren't cheap, right? Like we complain about game prices now, and yes, they are a little bit more expensive, but it's because we paid $60 for so long But games in the 90s were still 60 to 80 to 90, $100
I've
for a
never known
cartridge.
them to be cheap, Joe. Like that's the thing. And you knew my father, but I remember when I had to convince them to buy me Cool Borders 3, which was the one game that I played forever, and you guys even got nauseous about it. But that was it, and that was
Yeah.
$60 at the time. Right, but at least back
Yeah.
then we had, a disc, we had a cartridge, we had some kind of physical component. But now we've swapped materials for design, and I think that is a
Hmm.
huge thing, because now you look at Unreal Engine, and a lot of these companies and what they're coming up with, dude. Like I said, if it wasn't for the fact that I know if I jump on the rails in front of my house that a train will hit me and I will die, I would just assume this was a shitty video game. Like this is my own Red Dead Redemption. But
Hmm. Hmm.
let's hop back
Sorry,
to
yes. Let's go back.
let's hop back to Nintendo, and we're gonna talk now because I don't have too much. Like Donkey Kong, I don't think got, maybe GameCube was different, but I would say in the last 10 years, I don't feel like Donkey Kong got any love whatsoever.
No, it hasn't. So you had the old arcade Donkey Kongs, right? Climbing up the ladder, Donkey
Yeah,
Kong's the enemy, throwing barrels and shit at you. There was three of them, but I think it was like Donkey Kong something, and Donkey Kong Junior were the
yeah,
three on like arcade Atari. And then I think the pivotal moment was the Super Nintendo, like you said, Donkey Kong Country in 1994 changed what the perception was of Donkey Kong for sure. Like I think he became, because he was technically a villain
yeah,
in the first one, and now he's like a hero. Still doesn't like Mario,
which is fine.
according to the
Mo-
lore. Yeah, but he's more like a Venom now,
he's an
in
anti-hero.
my mind. Yeah, Super Mario,
Deadpool.
Spider Man. Yeah, he's more like that. But those games when they came out, because that was a very revolutionary game. One, the graphics. I don't know the history on how they did it, but the fact that they look like clay, but they were very, I want to use the word high def, but it wasn't high definition at the time. But it was very high def, very clear, very animated, very colorful, looked real in a sense. And I'm going to say like real in the sense that when you watch South Park and play the South Park game, looked real because it was like 1 to 1. Um, but again, hard game, but the controls were tight. It was they created the lore, and we could get into the lore later because apparently Cranky Kong is like the original Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong Jr. from the third arcade Atari game is actually Donkey Kong, and Diddy is his nephew, but Diddy is a chimpanzee and Donkey Kong's an ape, so it doesn't make. Anyways, we get. I'll let you all think of that one. Um, but those three games that came out again, the music fantastic, the graphics fantastic. They had this hit after Mario and or after Donkey Kong 3, Donkey Kong Country 3. But I think what killed it was Donkey Kong 64 is what killed the franchise for a bit. Because if you go back to it now playing it, it was not a good game. It was very bad, very poor. Um, uh, Game design, very poor mechanics, very poor. Just everything about it was so shit. Like so shit. You went from Mario 64, which I've been on record saying not the best game, but at its time, really good game. Then you're like, holy shit, Nintendo's making like a Donkey Kong game, and it was just absolutely trash. I think like they put it in the let's put a pin in it bin, and they're like, Mario, let's just do whatever we can with Mario. Let's make golf, let's make baseball, let's make kart, let's make basketball, let's make this. Like just flood the market with Mario until they forget how shit Donkey Kong 64 was. Then give it a couple of generations because it was 64. Then it was the Wii, and the Wii had no, it was a GameCube. Sorry, GameCube had Donkey Konga. I don't know if you remember that.
Nope.
It's like music rhythm game. You had like bongos. I
Okay, I
really
do
wish I
remember it.
had
I
the
never
game.
played it. Yeah.
So they came out with that, and then they came out with a game that dealt with those controls. That was like a platform, but it just never reached the peak as of Mario. And as much as I like to shit on Nintendo because of what they do, and they make me repay for the same game over and over again, they're smart. They made a realization that Donkey Kong is going nowhere right now, so let's put them away. Let's make some more Mario games. And then what? Donkey Kong Bonanza on the Switch 2 is really the next more the Donkey Kong game. After the GameCube, I think on the Switch it was like a remake of something, and there was remake after remake. But from like the GameCube or the 64 to the Switch 2, they like shelved them. But from what I hear, I haven't played it yet, but I heard this game is fucking fantastic.
I've watched Carrie
Like
play it,
off
and
the charts.
you know, he really like. But that was the thing. But when I watch the clips that I watch, is it did have that feel of, you know, Donkey Kong Country from back on SNES, and
Hmm.
you know, but that's the thing. It has never been top three, top four, top five. I'd even say in you know Nintendo land. Sure, it is.
Hmm.
It is iconic. It is iconic,
Yes.
but so are the
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns. You can be iconic and irrelevant all at the same time. It's
You're right.
and just because I'm an asshole, but that's it. But though it was almost like you said, it was put a pin in it. We've got him as an extra character, right? Kind of like Goofy and Mickey Mouse.
Hmm.
When we do Mario
Hmm.
Kart, you right? We got Donkey, we got Diddy, we got, and that's it. And the next franchise we're going to talk about is another one of these, and I hope you see where I'm going to end up putting all of these together at the end, just because of foreshadowing, and I love it. The next one we're going to talk about is Legend of Zelda. That
Hmm.
would, to me, be probably the next most iconic franchise, not only with Nintendo, but in video game history, way back when. I have been fucked since, man, I have been playing Legend of Zelda for a long fucking time. Like, you know, I took a break between Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild, but I can't. The Legend of Zeldas that were on Switch is something that I've never experienced. The games were ridiculous. The storyline was ridiculous. I very rarely agree to spend money on things, let alone video games. But I would shell
Hmm.
$130, no problem, for that, and that's it, right? Because it's the game that you will never. Every other game is going to rip off this game, right?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
kind of that, but. To me, Legend of Zelda from Game Boy all the way up, like I don't know. There's a place. I don't think it could ever be replaced for me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And dude, I forgot about. I didn't forget about the Game Boy, but like the Game Boy is like a totally separate subject. But um, Legend of Zelda, I put at like number two for like iconic video game mascots throughout all video games,
Yeah.
right? Um, the first game I don't have a lot of experience with. Um, yeah, the first game I don't have a lot of experience with, but from what I hear about it, the reason why it was iconic was again like multiple screens, like multiple maps, different things. Very obtuse of a game for its time. Because back then you had one video game to play for the year. That was it. That's what people had money for. So let's make them spend all their time here. There were so many secrets, so many hidden entrances. The cartridge and game itself came with a fucking map, dude. Like I
Well,
wish I could put that map behind here because it came with a fucking map. That's like how obtuse it was. It was like, here's a map, figure it out, right? And people loved it. Loved
but
it.
that was it because it gave you your first experience in going out, actually saving the princess. Like, fuck, Peach
Mm-hmm.
keeps getting kidnapped. At a certain point, we all have to realize that if she is not helping herself, she is part of the problem. Stop
Yeah.
supporting Peach. Mario
She
is a
fucking won.
fucking goof.
She doesn't want to live with Mario anymore.
That's
She
it.
wants to live with Bowser in a castle. Let it go.
That's it.
Let it go.
The short white guy loses again. Just that's fine. It's history. But Legend of Zelda, right? You felt better. Not only were you a more attractive hero in Link, but you are in this beautiful world. And then you had the
Mm-hmm.
dark world, right? And that was the thing. And I think that was one of the first games, other than when Super Nintendo or when Super Mario introduced the water levels and stuff like that, right? That
Mm-hmm.
basically took you out of the original game. And the same with
Mm-hmm.
Zelda for me. You could take that mirror, you could go to the dark side, you could get different shit, whole new game. Whole new game.
Mm-hmm.
And now that
And
I think
how
about it,
again?
go ahead.
Oh no, go for it.
I was going to say, and now that I think about it, I generally like games in which there's like a second world to it because in Breath of the Wild, it was the same thing, right? You can go under Hyrule into the darkness and find.
Mm.
You see, and that's the thing because it always feels like a second game to me. And I know we talked about the one screeners, but I think that's where Legend of Zelda really separated games for me. It was a completely other world. Like if you looked for and we didn't have walkthroughs back in the day, but Legend of Zelda would have been one of those, right? That, like you said, you had the fucking map, you had to literally think about the path. And it was just such
Mm-hmm.
whether you liked it or not, it was a beautiful game. The story it told, because Mario was always the same corny shit. And I'm sorry to say it again,
Mm-hmm.
not
It
in
was.
support
It
of
was.
Peach, not in support of Peach here. No, so, you know, but yeah, but Legend of Zelda. There was always this, and I guess the next one is going to be the Heroes of Hyrule or something. But I'm not going to buy a Switch 2. It irritates me, and we'll finish the episode with our gripe with Nintendo.
Right.
But Legend
Right.
of Zelda, like I said, has got to be one of the, like you said, it's got to be top two. It doesn't matter what you like. Legend of Zelda would probably be the second.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I have, yeah, I've got one of the Quest things as my phone call notification. But and again, it's like that. Nintendo has marketed simple sound so well that it is ingrained in us. Like when you open up a chest, when you get a coin, anything like that, like the sound that the boomerang makes, that stupid.
Fucking dude. Again, look up Koji Kondo. Is the composer for those two games.
Yeah,
And he's just again fucking iconic. Like it's just a simple sound, but I know exactly. I'm pretty sure you're talking about your like ringtone or notification.
yeah,
It's probably when you open up a chest,
yeah.
and it's like
Do
da
do
da
do do
da
do.
da da da
Right?
da da. Dude, we all remember it, right? We all remember the initial theme song, intro song. We all remember. It's in our heads. Whether you played games or not, you've heard it at one point, and you know it.
Right?
Like you know it, right? So it makes him definitely 100% iconic. Legend of Zelda 1, from what I hear, fantastic game. Never really played it. Legend of Zelda 2 again fell into the Super Mario Brothers 2 pool, where um, video games never, like, so you'd usually make a one-off. You never really made a sequel. You just moved on.
Right?
So they tried to make sequels, but they didn't know what sequels should be. Should it be the same game? Should it be completely different? We don't know what we're doing. So I remember playing Legend of Zelda 2 and being like, this game fucking sucks. It's more of a side scroller platform, but mixed with RPG. But the open world is like Legend of Zelda 1, but like it's super fucking weird. And it was hard as shit at the time. Probably still hard now, never went back to it. But again, the music iconic, the character iconic. And then you come up with the game you referenced, Link to the Past. And that again, you go back and you play that game and it's exactly how you remember it. If you want to ask me what the best Legend of Zelda is, my personal opinion is Link to the Past. A lot of people will say Breath of the Wild. Now, this is going to be a hot take. You and my brother loved Breath of the Wild, loved Tears of the Kingdom. I could not finish it. There was it wasn't the game itself. For me, it was more the controller option they picked on the Switch. Fucking stupid. But to me, Legend of Zelda is that 2D overhead gameplay. The 3D is super cool and I fucking appreciate it. But it was just too obtuse, too like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, what am I
It,
supposed to do with this game?
that's the same as the first Final Fantasies, right? It's the same kind of. It
Mm-hmm.
was just no one actually thought people would play this. We just needed to release something, and now it's a piece of shit. But Link to the Past, and that is a game. Like I said, I've played it. I have downloaded emulators. When I was in prison, I played it on Game Boy because it was Link to the Past. I have such a profound love for that is why I played the others. And I know you said it was a hot take, but I think that those who did not experience Link to the Past when it first came out don't
Mm-hmm.
have that same appreciation because like you said it was obtuse, it was a completely abstract thought. And like, but we're going to talk about the JRPGs. We'll move on to
Mm-hmm.
that too. But and we'll talk about a Nintendo franchise here because I know Fire Emblem is a one that doesn't get too much talk, and I really feel like but Legend of Zelda is its own category. It is just something so that they're even making a TV show. But the world of
Yeah, and a
Hyrule,
movie.
and
And
that's
a
it.
movie.
The world of
Yeah.
Hyrule, I don't think has ever been. But I'm happier that it's coming in a time like now, because if they did it like when they did, when we didn't really have CGI, when it was animatronics, rubber masks, and shitty movies, dare I say. Um, and that's it. Because for those of you who didn't see a Koopa Troopa in the original Super Mario movie, it was fucking horrendous. And today, even John Leguizamo would be embarrassed at his role, but it needed
But
to be
please
done.
watch it. Please,
If you
you need to
haven't, yeah,
watch it though.
yeah,
You have to watch it.
I feel like we should
Yeah,
do it
just
on
take it
stream
for what
once.
it is. Yeah, but fucking just please watch it. It's not gonna be good. It's just gonna be exquisite acting and just people collecting a paycheck is what that movie is. And
Pretty
it's
much.
fantastic in a shitty sense.
It's probably only an hour and 6 minutes, so you should be all right. I think
Probably.
they ran through it
Probably.
pretty quick. The budget was overblown on that one, but this is going to bring
Dude,
us.
I
Oh,
don't know
good.
what they were thinking.
Dude, it had to be
Don't know
done.
what
It
they were
was
thinking. Sorry.
you just put butts in seats because they. This is the thing, Joe. Back then, you had to go to the theater to watch it. You had to pay money. Now you can download it.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear reviews, right? So you didn't have that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like you said, we couldn't walk away from Donkey Kong. If we could have walked away from Donkey Kong, we probably wouldn't have him today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
where I sit on it. And this is going to be something that came again out of all of this. And I think this is another iconic franchise from Nintendo. I didn't spend a whole lot of time playing it, but I'm sure you have. Let's talk Super Smash Brothers. Because if there is one thing that Nintendo does well, it is crossing over games like a motherfucker. So
What a I don't even like, dude,
it broke a whole new genre out.
what a fucking orgasm is what it was. Like like let's be real. It was a fucking orgasm. Like what do you mean I could play as Yoshi Pikachu, Ness, Donkey Kong, Captain Falco. No one knew who the fuck Captain Falco was. Fox, Samus, I think,
Yep.
and Mario, maybe Luigi. But I think there might have been 8 characters. But what a fucking I remember skipping school to go to a buddy's place to play this on the 64 because it blew my mind. Like nowadays you would think it was a mod. Nowadays you would think it was like a fan made game that created this. But Nintendo had this goddamn idea. They're like, okay, yeah, like we have Capcom that's making Street Fighter, like there's fighting games out there. Let's just take all our most iconic at the time. Because a lot of them, where's Fox McCloud nowadays? Where's the next Star
Worrying
Fox?
about
But
Box McCloud.
where the fuck is the next Star Fox game? But you take all your iconic, and Earthbound was like one game that came out, and you had this dude named Ness, and you take this and let's fight against each other. 4 player and hook up 4 controllers, and let's fucking go at it. What a great decision. And who knew to this day it would be this big, and it created an esports whatever fucking tournament, and people are still playing like the old ones, and like the fact that they made this is unbelievable because everyone else has tried ever since then and has failed. Um, PlayStation All Stars, where they had their mascots, God of War dude, Kratos, uh, Kratos, Kratos. I don't even remember the characters in this fucking game. Probably like Kratos, I guess. Anyways, they made this fucking game, didn't work. Trying to think of the names. I'm
But
like,
that's
nope,
but
don't
that's
know.
the
I don't.
thing,
I
Joe,
don't. I
is
don't think
that,
Crash Bandicoot was in it. I don't think anybody else was in it. I don't know. I don't know.
and
Sorry,
that's the
go on.
thing, because if you had to pick 6 iconic characters from each console, Nintendo hands down all day of the week is gonna win. And I think
And
that's
then
one
Master
thing.
Chief.
Yeah,
You got Nintendo characters and Master Chief, and that's fucking
the
it.
clown from
That's it.
Twisted Metal, and but like that, but that's just it. Like, I think that that is one thing, and we'll talk about it when we talk about PlayStation, because in my opinion, PlayStation did have the superior games. The gameplay was way better on PlayStation, but you could not compete with the origin stories that Nintendo had, because it was such a figment, or not even a figment, a fixture of our childhood. Like anybody that was anybody had a Super Nintendo. Like, you didn't go play fucking Sega after, because what was Sega? Sega was what, 16-bit, and then
Yeah, Sega was
and then
16
Super
bit. Super
Nintendo moved to
Nintendo
the
was
32.
16 bit.
Oh, was it? Okay, but it was
Uh,
way. Oh no, it was because we had Sonic.
Sega moved to like 32 bits and they
Yeah,
tried their whole
yeah,
thing. There's a reason why Sega fucking dropped off. We could
yeah.
like
We'll get to Sega.
you could look it up, you could look into it, we could talk about it, but there is a reason why they dropped off. But yeah, like fucking Smash Brothers and then no, Warner Brothers tried their own version with like
Yeah, I
Shaggy and
remember that shit.
Batman and like
Bugs Bunny.
yeah, dude, they canceled like the game's gone. They took it off the
Yeah,
server. It's no more. They're not doing anything because again, the one thing Nintendo has over everyone else is mascots, icons.
it's like Disney. The
Xbox
character
is
makes the
Master
money.
Chief. Yeah, that's it. Xbox Master Chief, no one else. There's no other flagship game on the Xbox other than Halo. That's it. Right? You
Yeah.
could say Gears of War, but only gamers know Gears of
Forza would
War.
really, but Forza's PlayStation 2. Um,
Yeah.
it's
But and
hard.
even Forza is just it's cars. It's
Is Call
racing.
of
Like
Duty
there's no
PlayStation, or is
mascot.
it?
It's both. It's all.
Okay.
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. I could play it on my phone. I could play it
But
like there's no right.
but that was it. When we
Um,
wanted to play Xbox as a kid, it was for Halo. It was for a shooter game. It was some kind of, I'm gonna
that's it.
blow up aliens, this is the
Mm-hmm.
day. And which is fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. I love blowing
Yeah.
up aliens. Nothing gives me greater joy in life. And even when I rediscovered my gaming after, 20 years of not gaming, earlier on in my streaming days, I did go back and I did play what I consider, framework games that anyone my age who hasn't played games growing up should play. At least to kind of have a basis, because now we're talking about new, and we'll talk about it because I'm sure you've played it. I've never played it, but let's go back because now that we've talked Super Smash Brothers, other kind of franchises from Nintendo that are still iconic but definitely not front runners is going to be your Kirby, your Metroid. They're
Yeah.
games that we all played, we all
Mm-hmm.
loved, but I'm not going to go break down the doors at Best Buy on Boxing Day to go get the new Kirby Dreamland.
No, no, because Kirby did come out with a game on the Switch, Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, I
Oh
believe.
geez. Oh
Which
yeah, I did
again,
play it, but it was short.
yeah, you know what I mean. It was Kirby. You had a good time, and then it was done, right?
And that was it. Cause
Uh
good.
oh no, I was gonna say like even like Metroid,
Yeah.
the last. So you had Metroid Dread, which again, what Nintendo does is they have two different genres. They have the 3D and the 2D, right? So you were talking about with Mario, you had Mario Odyssey, which was 3D,
Yeah.
which was like Mario 64 but better. But then you had Mario Wonders, which was their 2D version of Mario, but their newer version, right? So like with Metroid, you had Metroid Prime, which was their first person shooter style, and then you had Metroid Dread, which is their newest one released on the Switch. But did a lot of people play it? I don't know. I didn't play it because I don't know. It's been gone for so long that you kind of don't care anymore, right? And that's the problem with Nintendo is they keep Mario in the forefront and they just pump out Mario games, and then they silently drop their other mascots, and you forget about it, right? Like you played Kirby. I didn't play Kirby. Did you play Metroid Dread? Nope.
But I
Did you even know that it existed? Nope, because they suddenly just fucking drop it in between Mario shit.
but the thing is, it's replaceable, right? I think once Halo came out, um, yeah, Halo's got to be the first. Metroid started to fade off. Like we didn't need the platformer runner shooter anymore. We've moved on to
Mm-hmm.
something different, right? We talk about GoldenEye, what that did, and we'll talk about the shooter games coming up and the change that came with
Mm-hmm.
Halo, Medal of Honor, and all those kind of games. But that's it. But I think as far as Nintendo centric kind of flagships that they were dropped off, right? But they did gain. And this is one that I've never played. And I think you probably have Splatoon. So Splatoon is kind of, it seems to be a real poor attempt at grabbing young kids again into a new kind of game. Like it's still the same game, but just a little different. We had to come up with new
Yeah.
characters, but it follows that same kind of Nintendo storyline, Disney Arch kind of deal. But yeah, give me a
Mm-hmm.
brief talk on Splatoon. Do you think that's even worthy of being on the list here?
I know for the younger generation, it is. Like for sure it is. Have I really gave it a chance? I haven't. I played it, I tried it. Um my problem with Splatoon is Nintendo has gotten themselves in a little bit of a rut, right? They're understanding that their demographic is us, the people that grew up with it. We want more Nintendo shit, but we want grittier Nintendo shit. You know what I mean? A little bit darker. Give me a little bit Zack Snyder, not as much Marvel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Give me Legend of Zelda with a hint of like Dark Souls.
I
Like,
want the video game to feel my anxiety and
yes.
depression and that's it. Yeah, I
Yes.
basically
Yeah.
want a video game
Give
Batman.
me give me Pokemon, but like make the Pokemon a little bit terrifying. Give me open world, wander around. Holy shit, there's a Charmander. He wants to eat me. Like, give me that. Their problem is they're stuck. They can't do that because their whole MO is we're family friendly,
Now, I'm
right?
so glad you brought that up because I even forgot about this point. The other major franchise, and I think we've all looked past it, but the minute I say it, we're all going to be there. And you had said it, Pokemon, right? Pokemon on Game Boy was the tits. That's the one you broke down the store doors for. So
Ah,
now,
yes.
and this is going to lead us into my problem with Nintendo. So Pokemon, you know, I played Sword and Shield. That would have been the last two I played, but I spent years playing Pokemon Go. I liked Pokemon. Pokemon was something we grew up with the originals. Like I still go back and watch Ash,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and I guess now it's all changed, which is fine. I really need to get off of that channel, but Pokemon is something that really shaped a whole other genre of game. Like we talk about Mario, we talk about Donkey Kong, Super Smash Brothers, but Pokemon was Super Smash Brothers, but like a story. If there was no origin stories to any of the heroes in Super Smash Brothers, and that was it. So it gave you got to build a team. You got to do it. You
Mm-hmm.
had crazy fight music, and like you said, it's again Nintendo's iconic sounds. And to this day, like
Mm-hmm.
even when I played it on Switch, it's gotten pretty cheesy. It's kind of lead and follow. Like you're gonna follow this rope
Mm-hmm.
down this path, and this is your path, which is fine. I like those games,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a good game, but that's it, right? You get to a point, and then after that, I'm going playing Pokemon Go again. I'll walk for a week and a half, and then I'll go back to being fat, which I'm fine with. But Pokemon has is in its own fucking category, and it's in its
Mm-hmm.
own category enough that we did have a knockoff made that has been extremely successful. And as a guy that put in 500 plus hours into it, I would love to talk about it because I haven't played it in a while. But it just became another one of those that I feel is going to be lost in the legal battles against Nintendo. So what I'm referring to is Pal World. Pal World came out,
Yes.
and Pal World was the Pokemon we all wanted. Pal World was the Super Smash Brothers of Pokemon, right? We could just
Mm-hmm.
fucking go up against each other, battle, and it was awesome. It had everything you wanted, right? It had the building aspect
Mm-hmm.
because apparently we can't get people to work construction now, but if they do it in Fortnite or in another game, they will build fucking towers. So I don't get it, but anyways, it's but that's it, right? I got a kid that'll play Farm Simulator. His grandpa's a farmer. He won't go farm, but it's
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
but that's life. But like I said, Pal World and Pokemon, and this really highlights one thing that kind of drives me nuts, but I understand where Nintendo comes from. And you alluded to it earlier that if you had Super Smash Brothers, and I believe you could refer to it as a mod for a game, right? It
Yeah.
unlocks everything for you, and I think that's what Pal World did. And now Pokemon, right? They're going to be in legal battles for years and years, right? This we call it a sphere instead of a ball. We all know what we're talking about, though. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, I think that Pokemon had enough time as its own thing. But over the years, we've seen Digimon, we've seen every kind of cheap ass knockoff that Pokemon could have. But Pal World finally makes the game we all want.
Yep.
Right, it had
Yep.
everything. I
Yep.
could attach
It
a
did.
bazooka. It had the problem was it started to knock off characters that were kind of close, and I can get right. Like you want to ride that fine line between profitable and not profitable, but which is fine, right? Instead of Pikachu, you had Grisbolt, who was a bigger character, but he had fucking machine guns.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like because that's how it was
They
described,
so
right? When it
yeah.
was described, what was it? Pokemon with guns,
Pokemon with guns. That's it.
because
That was their marketing. Pokemon with guns.
and it was
And
great.
I'm so glad that somebody was able to do this because yeah, you mentioned Digimon. Digimon Digimon had it. Had it going on. I don't know when they fucked up. but they were a little bit. They were like, okay, the people want like a little bit grittier Pokemon, not so cutesy, right? So they created these fucking crazy dinosaurs, like fucking. They did sometimes have guns, or you had angels, you had whatever. It looked really cool. There was something wrong with it. Now Power World comes along, and I'm so glad they did because Game Freak has been now whether it's Game Freak or whether it's Nintendo, we don't know because what I don't know what a lot of people don't realize is Nintendo is not a or sorry, Pokemon is not a first party Nintendo game, meaning Nintendo didn't make it. It's a publisher or it's a
With an
developer
exclusivity.
named Game it's a Game Freak,
Yeah.
right? They're the publisher. Um or no, they're the developer, Nintendo's the publisher. Anyways, they are technically really not like exclusive to Nintendo. It's just Nintendo gives them enough fucking money that they just make games for Nintendo, right? Um, so I'm so glad Power came along because they have become so complacent and so like we just need to do the bare minimum. And the problem is, fucks like I don't know about you, but fucks like me that complain about it still buy the fucking game. I will go out every year and buy the next Pokemon game. Pokemon ZA or whatever just came out. I'm gonna buy it. I'm telling you right now. I heard the problems with it. I'm still gonna fucking buy it because it's Pokemon. I love it. Power World, when they came about, now they're giving them a run for their money, and now Game Freak needs to really think about it. And I feel like it's not Game Freak, it's Nintendo holding them back. But Game Freak needs to go to them and be like, look, let's take Breath of the fucking Wild. Let's take the graphics, the world, the big open world, the whatever, and let's just make it Pokemon. And if they do that, I personally think that Power World might fall.
And
I
this
think
is,
people might drop off of Power World and they're going to move on to that.
well, the thing is, it's a fad, and you had brought up Digimon. When we were growing up, Digimon couldn't hold a candle, and I think what really boosted Pokemon ahead of Digimon was Game Boy. I think that
Yes.
having those games brought it more, right? Because who gave a fuck if I can't, it was a Tamagotchi before, dude. We used to fucking spend $30 on a little fucking thing you'd press a,
Tamagotchi.
but that's what
Yeah.
it was, right? But Pokemon took it to the next level because Pokemon took it to a level in which now you're the trainer, right? I get to battle. And then Pal World took Legend of Zelda, it took Pokemon, and it said, have a baby. And that's what we wanted because it listened to the gamers. It took everything they wanted. They want
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty, they want Pokemon, and they want a story, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. People
Yeah.
like building shit.
I want to catch things. I want to eat. I want to drink. I want to build shit.
Yeah.
I want to fight. I want to capture, and I want to use
Yeah.
guns.
I don't
And
want
they
to
took it
just
all,
play
and they're
10
like, "Here you
levels.
go."
I want to live this
Mm-hmm.
as a lifestyle, which is fine. And like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I put a lot of hours into it and it was a great game. I've got nothing but good things to say about Pal World. But like I said, give me 2 seconds here.
Yep.
Okay, it's empty. The kitten's just knocking shit over because he's a fucking asshole. But
But yeah.
anyways, but with Pal World, and this is the thing that bugs me with Nintendo. Pal World came up with the formula. They figured out the algorithm, right? And they ripped on Nintendo because they could make a huge play at it. And I think that's why Nintendo came into it. Like, if we used a cube instead of a sphere, instead of a ball, it would be different. But they got too close to copying it because I think, other than some of the characters and the ball, it was a different game. Like, we've had so many games just kind of like the same style as another game over and over and
Mm-hmm.
over, right? And I think that's one thing that Pal World did is they were okay with being I don't even want to say it, the ghetto version of Pokemon because we all relate to it a little more. I just want to go and fuck around. Because the problem with Pokemon, and even with Pokemon Go and everything, like there are so many games you can play, Pokemon TCG, everything like that. But Pal World was that. It was your own world where you could go and you can do that. And I think in the last 10 years, we've seen that more and more with video games, right? And you've seen it throughout the generations. We have games like The Forest, so on and so on, where you have to survive to live. And that's what people want. People want that immersion. And I think the problem that I have with Nintendo is when they try to stifle that creativity to save knockoffs. But I do understand you gotta protect your shit. But
Mm-hmm.
I stopped playing because I think at a certain point, I don't think Pal World is going to be able to say that, this was a completely original idea. If I advocated for them, I would love to say it, but there was clearly mechanics taken, but it was a great
Oh
fucking
no,
game.
100%,
You
dude.
know what I mean?
Whoever the lawyer is, I hope they're paying them top dollar.
Oh, it is.
Because honestly, they should have lost whatever lawsuit is against them. They should have lost so long ago. But there is something that they are doing. Just they are just skimming the line
Okay.
of what is considered like copying and what is not. And I think I don't think that whatever is going on, I don't think they're going to win. I'm going to be honest with you. It is so far like you could try to argue parody rights, you could try to argue whatever it is. They they legit just copied. Like I'll say that right now for sure 100%. But whoever their lawyers are fucking smart because if Nintendo couldn't have taken them down by now, there is something that they just figured out that like I hope they win. I really do. I hope the developers of Pal World win whatever lawsuit is going on because then it's gonna force Nintendo and Game Freak to fucking give us what we fucking want and give me PlayStation style graphics, but fucking Pokemon. Give me like the forest mixed with Pokemon mixed with this. Make it like give me what just make what the people want. You could do it. You have enough fucking money.
And I
Just
think
make what the people want.
and I think that's why I backed Pal World up until because that's it. I'm a realistic motherfucker. I know it's going to come to an end. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot overthrow Pokemon, and it's not even Nintendo. You cannot overthrow Pokemon's hold on everybody. People that don't even know video games know Pokemon. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
can talk to my mom. And what was, again, like we talked about, Power World was Pokemon with guns. That's how I explained it to my
Mm-hmm.
mom. But it's the same kind of thing. And I think that that's one thing. And my fight, as always, is man versus the machine. And I think that this is the first time where someone has actually called out a company. And I'll tell you this one thing that I've noticed is they still have it released as a beta demo. Now you haven't released the whole video game, right? So because they clearly
Mm-hmm.
knew they were going to go to court, you wouldn't have backed this much money into it if you didn't know what they were going to come after you for, right? Like me and you don't
Mm-hmm.
have fucking law degrees, but 2 + 2 = 4.
They fucking knew. That's why I said the lawyer, dude.
And
Whoever
this
they
is
have
it.
on
But
retention is
they
fucking an all-star.
but it needs to happen because we have seen this throughout games before. Consoles have done it to themselves, right? Tomb Raider and Uncharted. It's the same fucking game with
Mm-hmm.
less tits.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's it because Tomb Raider wasn't selling anymore. Okay, well now we want the national treasure Nicolas Cage kind of guy, and which is
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's fine. It was a good game, but Pokemon, Mario, Legend of Zelda, those are all going to be such iconic games that no matter how many times you try to rip from them, they're not going to go. Like there needs to be
They're
something
not.
detrimental. And even if it did, Nintendo has a backup plan like Super Smash Brothers. And I think that that
Mm-hmm.
is why I liked Pal World so much. Is it was that same feel but with a little gangster in it, right? Like you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I think that's one thing that Nintendo really needs to let go of. And I think And the only reason I don't support it is because the fact that I have to buy your newest, like if they only came out with a system once every 15 years, okay. But if I'm good, but this is like PlayStation, right? At least PlayStation, I was allowed to play certain games on the next console. But if I've got to scrap $500, $600 to go play one Donkey Kong game, because the only thing I played Pokemon because of Mario Kart. If it wasn't for Mario Kart, like I haven't played that Switch probably hasn't been powered on in over a year, right?
Oh
And that's
no,
it.
yeah,
Because now I got to
agreed.
pay a
Again,
fee to play against my friends online. I gotta pay a fee to go to do this or to do that. I can't.
they don't.
They
They don't
have
even have.
monetized it on a level that no one can break.
Yeah, they don't even have voice chat, dude.
No,
Like I can't go on the Switch and play with my buddies and speak through the Switch. I have to download an app on my phone and use my phone as my fucking microphone. Like it makes no sense.
but
And again, I get it, but it's because they pigeonhole or whatever the term is themselves into being kid friendly. We're for the kids, so we don't want open voice chat because a lot of kids play our games,
which is
right?
better than kids playing Minecraft, and I'll be completely honest with that, right? You can't regulate the PC or in a lot of other these things like Discord, and there's shit we're
You
not going to be
can't.
able to fight. But Nintendo has done such a, because I can't say that I have these. Like we got used to the fact growing up that there are certain games you're going to play on certain consoles, right? South Park did it
Yep.
great. What are we going to play? PS4 versus Xbox, right? That was the greatest. That is the only way that you could describe our generation. And it's true because it was always my tribe versus yours. It was PlayStation versus Nintendo versus Xbox. But even if you had a PlayStation and an
Nintendo,
Xbox,
Sega, like
Nintendo always had a spot because Nintendo ruled
always.
the portable gaming market for decades. Right? The fucking, I can't remember what the PlayStation 1 was, but the PSP. It was okay, but,
Yep.
and this is my other
But
problem with Nintendo because this is one thing, and we're going to talk PlayStation next. PlayStation, I think, did a better job at making it more affordable for more gamers to play than Nintendo did, and I think that that is why a lot of us went to it. And then Xbox later came out, but we'll
but
touch.
they had to.
They had to,
Like they had to. In order to break into the market,
but
they
what?
fucking had to.
And we'll talk
Right?
about it, but I
And
want you
it
to think
worked.
about this. What was it that Xbox offered that PlayStation didn't at the time? And that was an all-in-one media center. Because now you could justify that extra $100 because you didn't have to buy that DVD player, you didn't have to buy
And
that
free
Blu-ray,
online.
and that's just it.
But,
Affordability.
no, sorry.
Well, no, but it was the
Yeah.
online experience,
It
right?
was sorry, Xbox, yes. Xbox you had to pay. PlayStation was free, but PlayStation Online sucked compared to Xbox
And
when
that's it,
first
because you
came
would
out.
pay for
But we could
Xbox
talk
Live.
about that. Yeah.
And like I said, this has been a great episode. We've talked about Nintendo. If you're listening, if you're watching, this is a very raw episode. This is our second episode. First one, probably good. But if you like these conversations, you want us to touch base on anything else, please let us know. We'll be doing recordings for the next few sessions. I will be releasing them. Links all there. Please go check out Joey Shadows on Twitch. He's there. He is on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday nights. His merch is done through Mio Store. All profits go to that guy right there after my cost, just like that shirt right there, and much like this Send Nude shirt with the cheerful man eating his ramen so my wife doesn't slap me. But anyways, Joe, thank you so much for your time, brother. This was a great
Thanks, dude.
episode,
Yeah.
and we will talk soon. Next episode, we're talking PlayStation.